You ever sit there late at night, staring at the ceiling, telling yourself everything is fine, even though something in your gut won't settle? On the surface, the relationship looks normal. You laugh together, you text every day, maybe you've even made plans for the future. But underneath that surface, there's tension, a subtle unease, a quiet voice that keeps whispering, something isn't right. And instead of listening to that voice, you silence it. You call it overthinking, you call it insecurity, you tell yourself you're being dramatic. But let's be honest, peace doesn't leave without a reason. When a relationship is healthy, it doesn't feel like you're constantly defending your own reality. It doesn't feel like you're shrinking yourself just to keep the balance. It doesn't feel like you're slowly losing confidence in your own judgment. Yet some men live exactly like that, day after day. They don't realize they're not thriving anymore, they're surviving. And survival mode in a relationship is dangerous. It chips away at you, quietly, gradually. You don't wake up one day broken. You wake up one day unsure of who you even are. If you value your mental clarity, your self-respect, your long-term strength as a man, there are certain behaviors you cannot ignore. Not because you're heartless, not because you're looking for an excuse to leave, but because you refuse to betray yourself. The first sign, and the most psychologically destructive, is this. She makes you doubt your own memory. You bring up something that bothered you, calmly, rationally. You say, when you said that, it felt disrespectful. Or, I didn't like how that situation played out. And instead of addressing it, she looks at you like you're insane. What are you talking about? That never happened. You're exaggerating. You're too sensitive. At first, you brush it off. Maybe you were too emotional in the moment. Maybe you misunderstood. But it keeps happening. Every time there's a conflict, the narrative shifts, the story changes. Suddenly, you're the unstable one. You're the one imagining things. You're the one starting problems. And here's where it gets dangerous. You stop trusting your own perception. You start replaying conversations in your head, trying to verify whether what you experienced was real. You second-guess your tone, your reactions, your memory. That's not normal conflict. That's psychological erosion. When someone consistently denies your lived experience to avoid accountability, it's not love. It's manipulation. Subtle, controlled, and incredibly damaging. Because once a man loses trust in his own judgment, he becomes easy to control. A woman who respects you may disagree with you. She may challenge you, but she won't make you feel crazy for expressing your perspective. If you find yourself constantly confused after arguments, constantly apologizing just to restore peace, constantly wondering if you're the problem, pause. Your sanity is not negotiable. The second sign is just as telling, and it reveals something fundamental about how she sees you. She does not respect your boundaries. You tell her you need time to focus on work, and she mocks you for it. You say you're uncomfortable with a certain behavior, and she brushes it off like it's trivial. You draw a line, calmly, respectfully, and she steps over it as if it's not even there. Here's the truth most people avoid. Boundaries are not suggestions. They are demonstrations of self-respect. When a woman ignores your boundaries, she's not just crossing a line. She's testing how much of yourself you're willing to abandon to keep her happy. And if every time she pushes, you retreat, she learns something. She learns that your limits are flexible. She learns that your standards are negotiable. She learns that your discomfort doesn't outweigh her convenience. Over time, that dynamic creates imbalance. You start adjusting your schedule, your principles, your tolerance. You tell yourself you're being understanding, that you're being mature. But in reality, you're being conditioned. Healthy love respects limits. It doesn't punish them. If saying I need space results in guilt trips, if expressing discomfort results in ridicule, if your needs are consistently minimized, you are not being heard. You are being managed. And the longer you tolerate it, the more normal it starts to feel. That's how men lose themselves, not in dramatic betrayals, but in small, repeated compromises against their own instincts. Pay attention to how you feel after disagreements. Do you feel understood, even if unresolved? Or do you feel drained, confused, slightly smaller than before? Your emotional state after conflict tells you everything. This isn't about being perfect. This isn't about expecting zero flaws. It's about patterns. and patterns left unchecked shape your future. If you keep noticing cracks in the foundation, stop pretending there's scratches on the surface, because foundations don't fix themselves, and the longer you ignore instability, the harder the collapse hits. There's another shift that happens slowly, almost quietly. At first, you don't even want to admit it. Every disagreement somehow circles back to you. She lies, and it's because you made her feel unsafe. She snaps at you, and it's because you pushed her buttons. She crosses a line, and somehow you're the one apologizing by the end of the night. Notice the pattern. Accountability never lands on her shoulders. It slides off effortlessly and lands on yours. This is the victim cycle, and it's exhausting. In a healthy relationship, both people can say, "I was wrong." They can sit in discomfort without collapsing. They can own their actions without rewriting history. But when someone constantly frames themselves as the wounded party, even when they cause the wound, you're not in a partnership. You're in a courtroom, and you're always the defendant. Over time, something dangerous happens. You start over-explaining yourself. You start softening your tone before speaking. You rehearse conversations in your head to avoid triggering another emotional storm. That's not love. That's walking on eggshells. And no man should feel like he needs a strategy meeting just to express basic emotions. When every issue becomes a story where she is the innocent one and you are the aggressor, your nervous system never relaxes. You're constantly defending your character instead of simply being yourself. That pressure builds resentment. Resentment turns into distance, and distance slowly kills respect. Now let's talk about something that seems small on the surface, but says everything beneath it. Your time. Time is the only currency you never get back. Once it's spent, it's gone. So how she treats your time tells you how she values you. Does she constantly cancel at the last minute? Does she make you wait hours with no apology? Does she expect you to rearrange your plans while she barely adjusts hers? At first, you may tell yourself it's not a big deal. People get busy, things happen. But watch the consistency. If she repeatedly shows you that your schedule is flexible, but hers is sacred, that you must adapt while she remains unchanged, that is not coincidence. That is hierarchy, and you are not at the top. Respect in a relationship is often shown in small logistical ways: being on time, keeping commitments, communicating clearly. When someone values you, they protect your time because they understand it represents your life. If she treats your availability like it's guaranteed, like you'll always be there no matter how she behaves, she begins to subconsciously devalue your presence. And here's the hard truth. If you keep proving that you'll tolerate being placed last, you will remain there. You are teaching people how to treat you every single time. A woman who sees you as a priority will make space for you. She won't make you feel like you're competing for basic respect. And if you constantly feel like an afterthought, you probably are one. This isn't about ego. It's about alignment. Your peace matters. Your time matters. Your emotional stability matters. And if maintaining the relationship requires you to keep shrinking those things just to keep her comfortable, you need to ask yourself why you're still negotiating with your own dignity. Now we get to the one that hurts the most, because it doesn't explode. It fades. At the beginning, the energy was different. She cared about how she looked when she saw you. She listened when you spoke. She asked questions. She surprised you. There was effort, visible, intentional effort. You felt chosen. But slowly, that effort disappears. Not because life got busy, not because something temporary shifted, but because she got comfortable knowing you're not going anywhere. She stops investing. She stops initiating. She stops paying attention to the small things that made you feel valued. And when you bring it up, she says, "Why does it matter?" Or, "You're overthinking again." Or worse, she laughs it off. Here's what most men misunderstand. Effort is a reflection of interest. When someone is emotionally invested, they naturally protect the bond. They nurture it. They contribute to it. They don't just exist inside it. A relationship cannot survive on one person's energy. If you're the only one planning, initiating, fixing, adjusting, understanding, then you're not in a partnership. You're in maintenance mode. And maintenance mode drains a man. You start doing more to compensate for her lack of effort. You try harder. You give more. You show up bigger. But the more you overextend, the less she has to contribute. Eventually, something inside you shifts. You don't feel admired anymore. You don't feel desired anymore. You feel tolerated. And that is one of the most dangerous emotional positions a man can sit in. Because when you're tolerated instead of valued, your self-esteem slowly bleeds out. You begin to question whether you're asking for too much just by wanting basic reciprocity. You are not asking for too much. You are asking for mutual investment. Love requires maintenance from both sides. Respect requires reinforcement from both sides. Desire requires participation from both sides. If she has stopped trying completely, that is information, not emotion, information. And ignoring that information costs you years. Here's the part most men avoid hearing. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to you just because you've already invested time. You don't owe someone your peace while they slowly erode it. You don't owe someone your loyalty while they offer you complacency. Walking away is not weakness. Staying where you are disrespected is. The longer you remain in a dynamic that drains you, the more normal dysfunction begins to feel. You adapt to chaos. You adjust to inconsistency. You convince yourself that this is just how relationships are. It's not. Healthy love does not confuse you. It does not diminish you. It does not make you question your worth. It strengthens you. If she manipulates your perception, if she ignores your boundaries, if she refuses accountability, if she disrespects your time, if she stops investing altogether, you already have your answer. The only question left is whether you respect yourself enough to act on it. Because every day you stay in a situation that chips away at your confidence, you are choosing comfort over growth. And comfort, when it's built on disrespect, becomes a cage. You don't need a dramatic exit. You don't need revenge wrapped in perfect dialogue. Sometimes, the strongest move a man can make is silence, distance, and forward motion. Your value is not determined by who decides to see it. And if someone is dimming your light, intentionally or through neglect, you don't fight for brighter attention. You remove yourself. There is peace on the other side of self-respect. There is clarity on the other side of detachment. And once you choose yourself fully, you will never again tolerate being slowly erased inside your own relationship. Now, the decision is yours.